Welcome to Royal Daily Report, your trusted source for royal news and stories. I'm your host, and today we bring you an exclusive story that has left many people shocked and confused. Don't forget to subscribe to Royal Daily Report and hit the bell icon to never miss an update. It started in a quiet room. There were no bright cameras, no royal crowns, just familiar faces of people who had known each other for many years. Among them sat Serena Williams, calm and private. She is the kind of woman who doesn't need to talk much to be understood. The conversation moved from one light topic to another. The laughter was soft and easy, but then a whisper cut through the air like breaking glass. It wasn't about tennis or fashion or even the royal life that one of their friends had married into. It was something much smaller, but far more dangerous. Someone leaned in close and whispered about Meghan Markle's real age. At first, nobody reacted. But when those words reached Serena's ears, something changed. Her face froze. Her body leaned back just a little bit. Then came the question. Quiet, but heavy enough to make the whole room go silent. How did she have kids? It wasn't said in anger or to hurt anyone. It was confusion, shock. It was the kind of question that makes you realize the story you thought you knew might not be true at all. And because it came from Serena, someone known for being graceful and disciplined, it wasn't ignored as just gossip. It hit like a hammer. In that moment, the energy in the room changed. The smiles disappeared. And suddenly, Meghan's perfect timeline didn't feel so perfect anymore. If you're enjoying this story, make sure you're subscribed to Royal Daily Report. We bring you the stories others won't tell. To understand Serena's question, we need to go back to where Meghan's story is supposed to begin. According to her official biography, Meghan Markle was born in August of 1981. She graduated from Northwestern University in 2003 at the age of 22. This timeline looks neat and clean on paper. But that's the problem with neat stories. They don't always match the facts. In Northwestern's old yearbooks, there's a photo that shows Meghan smiling in the back row of the university salsa club. She looks like any other college student, confident, bright, and carefree. But when researchers started checking the people standing next to her, something unusual showed up. Many of them weren't 21 or 22 years old. They were born in the early 1970s. Today, those same classmates are in their early to mid-50s. Records show some of them had finished high school as early as 1988 or 1989. That's almost 10 years before Meghan supposedly graduated from Immaculate Heart High School in 1999. Now, yes, universities sometimes have older students, but these weren't random classmates she met once. Their names showed up again and again with hers in alumni newsletters, in club announcements, even in group photos. They weren't people she barely knew. They were part of her friend circle. So if Meghan was truly 22 in 2003, why was she surrounded by people nearly 10 years older? And if the math doesn't add up, what else might be wrong? This is where the cracks start to show. Because when a public figure's story doesn't match the documents that should prove it, it's no longer about rumors. It's about records. Stay with Royal Daily Report as we uncover more shocking details. Now, Serena's quiet question, how did she have kids, starts to make sense. If Meghan was actually born earlier than she claims, it changes everything about her story. The pregnancies, the timelines, the photos, all of it. Because suddenly, what looks like a simple detail becomes a biological mystery. Having children later in life isn't impossible, but it does become harder and riskier for someone whose pregnancy seemed picture perfect with no visible problems or delays. The timeline feels too smooth, too neat, and Serena knew that. She's known Meghan for years. She's been by her side through important moments and headlines. So when she heard that whisper about Meghan's real age, her mind did the math, and the numbers didn't fit. Her question wasn't meant to accuse anyone. It was instinct, the same instinct that makes her pause before every tennis serve, seeing the play before it happens. And in that moment, her shock opened a door that no one in that room wanted to walk through. Because if Meghan's age was wrong, then so was everything that came after it. The pregnancies, the photos, the image. And for the first time, someone close enough to know better, Serena Williams, seemed to wonder if the story everyone had been told was actually a story at all. The room fell silent. No one dared to say anything more. But that question, how did she have kids, hung in the air, heavy and impossible to answer. It was the kind of question that doesn't fade away. It stays with you, echoing long after the conversation ends. And that's where this story truly begins. Don't go anywhere. Royal Daily Report has more exclusive details coming up. When Meghan's pregnancy became public, the world celebrated. Magazines ran shiny covers and cameras followed her every step. But behind those beautiful photos, something strange began to happen, quite literally. In some pictures, her baby bump sat high and was perfectly round. In others, just days apart, it looked lower, smaller, almost like it had moved overnight. The changes weren't small or hard to see. They were clear, captured by professional photographers whose images would later be kept in royal history. People noticed, even without wanting to. The human eye can tell when something looks wrong, when the shape, the height, or even the shadows don't stay the same. But what made this even stranger was Meghan's constant hand movement. No matter the event, no matter the outfit, her hands always went to her stomach, gently, carefully, on purpose. She'd hold it in nearly every public appearance. Not once, not twice, but dozens of times. It was as if the bump itself had become part of who she was, the main focus of every photograph. This is Royal Daily Report, bringing you the truth the mainstream media won't show you. Then came the moment no one could unsee. A video clip that would quietly spread among those who paid attention. The one often called the moon bump video. Meghan smiled brightly as she lowered herself into a chair. For a split second, the curve of her stomach seemed to fold in on itself, bending in a way that didn't make biological sense. It wasn't a trick of shadows or fabric. It was movement that didn't belong to a body carrying a child. The palace brushed it off as a camera angle. They said it was lighting or fabric tension, but the footage remained clear, replayable, impossible to ignore once you'd seen it. That single clip became more than just something curious. It was the first visible crack in the image of perfection, a sign that something in the official story didn't match what people were actually seeing. And when put together with Serena's question, how did she have kids? That crack began to look like the start of something much deeper. But sometimes truth doesn't come from documents. It comes from people, not the people in front of the cameras, but the ones standing just outside the frame. Event coordinators, assistants, junior staff, the quiet observers who see everything but say nothing. Over time, whispers began to drift from those inner circles. Small details shared in confidence, never meant for headlines. One event planner remembered watching Meghan backstage late in her pregnancy. She moved easily, gracefully, with no sign of the stiffness or tiredness most pregnant mothers feel. Another insider confessed that they had never once seen the bump uncovered. No dressing rooms, no private fittings. Always fabric, always covered. Individually, these accounts could be dismissed as curiosity, but together, they formed a quiet, consistent story. One where Meghan's pregnancy was carefully managed, visually arranged, and kept at a distance even from those closest to her. These weren't social media theories. They were first-hand whispers, the kind that make journalists lean forward and take notes they'll never be allowed to print. Keep watching Royal Daily Report for the full story. Then came the moment that left even doctors stunned. Just days after giving birth, Meghan appeared before the cameras. She was polished, glowing, and impossibly calm. Her dress was fitted, her heels were high, her steps were steady. There was no stiffness, no careful movements, no hesitation. She looked untouched by the exhausting process of childbirth. Medical professionals watching from far away commented quietly to reporters that her recovery looked unusually fast. One even said it was medically unlikely without major medical help. But for the cameras, it was perfect. The world saw a woman glowing with joy, her husband smiling beside her, their newborn held in their arms. It was the kind of photo that history books love, the royal fairy tale image brought back to life. Yet for those who had begun connecting the dots, Serena's shock, the shifting bump, the edited records that scene didn't look like recovery. It looked like a performance, a moment set up to close a story before anyone could question it. And if the birth had truly happened as written, why did everything around it feel so heavily rehearsed? Why did even the most natural act of mother holding her child look more like a campaign than a moment of real life? In that single appearance, the illusion was complete. But so was the unease. If you want to stay informed, subscribe to Royal Daily Report now. By now, the story had turned into a puzzle with missing pieces. The medical records were sealed. The staff who might know the truth were forced to stay silent. The palace was unmoved and untouchable. The truth wasn't denied. It was buried, protected by those who stood to lose the most if it ever came out. Behind those walls, loyalty was everything. Anyone who spoke risked their career. Anyone who questioned risked their position. So instead, silence became the rule. And outside those walls, the world moved on, accepting the story as fact because it came with an official stamp. That's how power works. When enough people repeat the same version, it becomes truth, even if the real truth is just a few doors away. And so we return to that quiet room. To the moment when Serena leaned back and asked a question that froze everyone in place. It wasn't meant to hurt, it wasn't gossip, it was instinct. The kind that only comes when something doesn't feel right. From that whisper to the yearbook records, from the moon bump footage to the changed birth certificates, from the silent staff to the sealed medical files, every piece of this story leads to one haunting question. Were you ever really pregnant? It's a question no palace statement can erase. No photograph can cover it. No title can silence it. It stays in the air, not out of cruelty, but out of curiosity for truth. Because truth doesn't disappear, it waits. And one day, when the people guarding it finally step forward, the world will see what Serena saw in that moment. That quiet shock wasn't just intuition, it was recognition. Recognition that something in the fairy tale never quite fit. Until then, the story remains unfinished, suspended between what we're told and what we sense. And as long as that question hangs unanswered, every new photo, every new statement, every polished image will carry a shadow. The shadow of that whisper, the echo of a friend's doubt. The one question that turned a quiet gathering into the start of a mystery. How did she have kids? And somewhere behind those palace walls, the answer still waits. Untouched, unspoken, and maybe, just maybe, too powerful to ever be told. This has been Royal Daily Report. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this exclusive story, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with others who want to know the truth. Hit the bell icon to get notified whenever we post new content. We'll see you in the next report. Until then, stay informed, stay curious, and keep questioning. This is Royal Daily Report, signing off.